So I just have this really cool, funny flip book to tell you my story. This is a very accurate depiction of my parents. Okay. And they bought me, I went to college and I graduated. Yeah. I went here for 2 years and then transferred out. I went to the University of Delaware law program. And then I was a professional waitress. So my parents felt like that was a really big waste of their money for some reason, but I loved it. And then I started selling print media for the Seaford Laurel Star, Morningstar Business Report. You may be familiar with those publications. And then after I got my feet wet in marketing, I decided that since the economy was in the toilet, it wasn't fun anymore. Imagine that, working on commission. So my parents decided, since their 401k was taking as well, that they would buy me a shiny new job. So they bought me a UPS store. This is a joke. They didn't buy me. They bought themselves a UPS store, and I ran it for them. My mom has been an orthopedic nurse for about 30 years, so she continues to do that. And my dad works for a local company selling welding products and industrial gases. And they've both been in the same industry forever, so that's pretty rare these days. I already said that. They waved the white flag, extricated some funds, and brought into the UPS store franchise. So in 2001, I believe, UPS bought mailboxes, etc. If you've ever wondered how that whole thing transpired, that's what happened. It was a pretty good deal. And then in 2003, and then it became the UPS store. So it sort of became a shipping conglomerate buying out an office supply / printing franchising. So it sort of married that way. In 2003, FedEx bought Kinko's to compete. The only real difference is that there are 45-ish hundred UPS stores and about 500 FedEx Kinko's locations. In addition, and this is, excuse me, a bigger difference, all of the UPS stores are franchised, which means that in most cases they're locally owned. And FedEx office locations are corporate, so their employees work for, you know how that works. We do shipping for UPS, for the Postal Service, and for DHL. DHL is really, really reliable in international shipping, and FedEx and UPS do have a good name for international shipping. But DHL is usually about 20% cheaper, and they've been in more foreign countries for longer, so we find them to be a little more reliable, especially getting things through customs quicker. The Postal Service is a must, just because people are so conditioned to use them, and because they're really cheap, without the necessity to end the day in the black. They can do that. So we do not mark up UPS. We do not mark up DHL. Both of them give us a very drastic discount, which allows us to offer it at the counter rate to people that come into our stores. The Postal Service does not give us a discount for selling their products, so we do mark them up. And this is probably what people know us best for. We can pack anything you bring into our store.
Any refrigerators?
Absolutely. We send a lot of scrap on this day here.
That's what I'm talking about.
A lot. Some grottos pizzas, mostly scrapple.
Yes, exactly.
And bison. We've sent out quite a bit of bison for the farming region. So what happens when you bring something into our store? We've literally sent it all, I think, in the 4 years that we've been there. We take it, we pack it according to what it needs. There's 3 standard categories. The standard pack, which is just throwing it in a box if it's a t-shirt. And then there's fragile glassware, stuff like that. And then there's custom, which includes a lot of all-day work. So when you have us pack something, if it breaks or if it's lost, excuse me, you get the value of that item back without any questions asked. You get the money you paid us to ship it back, and you get the money you paid us to pack it back. And we handle the claims process for you. It's usually no more than 2 weeks, which is pretty good in shipping claims turnaround world. I'm a notary. Everybody on my staff is a notary. 6 days a week, the whole time we're open, there's a notary. Copies are really cool. This is the only problem with the UPS store brand that I showed you. Having that shield is worth a lot of a lot, on your sign. But people do not think, I'm going to go have my stuff printed there, because they think that all I do all day is affix shipping labels to things. We do black and white and color copies. These are my beautiful children. I did this color copy, and I made these children. We also do mailboxes. It's especially important in Delaware to have this available because everyone's have Delaware address for the business. So I would say 90% of our customers are west of the Mississippi. They just have to fill out, it's a lot of documentation they have to fill out, especially since 9/11. A lot of the hijackers had boxes similar to this and false names, so they were receiving a lot of correspondence that way. So you do have to jump through some hoops, but if you're legit, it's not that big a deal. Being tax-free is also very cool. People like that. So Google's been amazing. They can Google UPS store mailbox Delaware, and I'm only one of very few UPS stores that come up. So this is a picture of a warehouse. It's giant. Mine is not that giant. But I do have a warehouse where we bring in pallets and pallets and pallets of stuff that people order, and I turn it around and ship it back out to Amazon for them. And it's great because I pay people by the hour, they pay me by the hour, and they don't even pay sales tax on them. $275,000 a day they're spending on KitchenAid. So it works out for everyone. And the thing I would like to leave you with the most from this whole presentation is that I print things, I design things. Trifold brochures, Paul used like the most profane word ever by saying Vistaprint in my presence. But you know what? They're so easy. And the sad thing is I'm not easy too, and nobody knows it. But I'm telling as many people as possible. So I do everything. And if I can't do it, I find someone who will in a really small amount of time. And he'll let me know that I didn't do it because I use really quality people. And you'll be satisfied. But 90% of the stuff, I'd say 80 to 90% of the stuff that I get as far as quote requests or job bids, I can do myself in-house. So.
That's really good to know. Let's give her a round of applause. Questions from the audience?
Where are you located?
In Seaford, in the Seaford Village Shopping Center. If you're familiar with Seaford, it's the same shopping center as Sears and Peebles is location. There's a left wing there, it's on the left side.
How about ice cream? Did you ship ice cream?
Yes, we did that once. We did it for Hopkins Dairy Farm.
I'm sure not in college.
Okay, we did it for them once.
Did it for Jay.
It was a young girl that brought it in. I don't know if she was just a gopher, but
There was some sort of discount if we did like thousands.
Probably is the right answer, right? The thing about ice cream is that it's with food in general, if it's late, it's done, it's ruined. And so while you're going to get your money back for shipping, UPS does not insure food products. So, yeah.
Laura, how do you know when it's time to add a product or to back up, regroup, and go into another direction?
The UPS store has amazing support. Their corporate office is in San Diego, and so they have a staff of over 200 people at corporate working on product development constantly. And so obviously shipping, while it's never going to go away because it's important to get things from one part of the country or world to the other part, retail shipping, as far as coming to a counter like mine, is falling by the wayside because if I'm going to go buy a book for my grandkid, why not just buy it on Amazon and have Amazon ship it directly to the house? So we have to get really creative. And printed materials, while they'll probably fall by the wayside too with how media is, have not taken the hit that that shipping has taken. So we're really, for the past 5 years, I'd say, focused more on that. But to answer your question, there are only so many profit centers that we can focus on based on our franchise agreement, but they are very willing to, like in the shredding, for instance. There's a lot of stuff that's If it's related to the business world, like office supply, or they're pretty liberal about what they'll let us bring into the store, I guess is the best way to say it.
Any other questions?
I'm curious, in the shipping business, people bring you boxes. How do you know if there's a possibility of shipping something that's illegal?
Right. If it's already taped up and the shipment is, we are not allowed to open it. So if I suspect, there's a lot of keywords you listen for. If I suspect something, and I've never had to do this in 4 years, we're supposed to just call local police, and they're supposed to come look at it. You know, here's the story. There was this one lady who was a little bit, I'll just say off. You know, that's the best way to describe it. She had a box about like this, and it had dry ice in it. And so I said, do you have perishables? Is it food or whatever? And mostly just to strike up a conversation. And she said, it's my dog. So I'm gonna assume your dog has passed on. She said, yeah, I'm sending him to a taxidermist, but he hasn't been embalmed or anything. And I said, well, we're not allowed to send pets. You know, because you can send almost anything, but if it's not replaceable, because you can replace a dead dog, but I can't replace that dead dog. So, it's tricky because you're dealing with someone who wants to have their dog stuff. So, I don't know. So, I just said, I'm going to need you to pretend you didn't tell me that. You know, so, I don't know. The dog's not going to hurt anything. I had her sign a waiver saying she understood that things happen in shipping and that, you know, if this package was lost, we'd be willing to give her, you know, the value of what was in the package. Obviously, there was no value. So you just really have to pay attention and listen. You know, we're not allowed to ship aerosols. We're not allowed to ship things that are, you know, we're not allowed to ship firearms unless they're antique. And most of the time, the shape of the box even will help you with things like that. Or markings, if they ship the item out in the box it came in and it has hazardous material warnings on it. It's fairly easy, but I'm sure we've shipped things unknowingly from people that are good actors.
Mike was first.
I spoke to an entrepreneur not too long ago that wanted to ship crab cakes. They wanted to ship crab cakes, and I'll say worldwide. First off, we wanted to get them from the East Coast to the West Coast. But they also wanted to ship crab cakes worldwide eventually. Would that customer potentially come to you and say, you can handle the job for them?
Yeah, I'd sell them DHL shipping. I would. I shipped crab cakes through UPS because my discount is a little bit better through UPS than it is to DHL. To all my mailbox customers west of Mississippi this year. So I sent 4 crab cakes to probably 30 locations. And they all made it on time, which was great.
Is that a once and done thing, or do you do that regularly?
I shipped it to them for a Christmas gift, I'm sorry. I've sent them, about 30 of my customers 4 crab cakes for Christmas as a thank you for keeping their mailbox with us and using our warehouse facility. Yes, the answer is yes, have them come to me.
I wanted to ask you more about exporting. Does DHL handle like the third-party certifications and all that when somebody ships, or is that done through the? I'm trying to advance exporting in Sussex County, so I'm trying to find out where the specifics are with how much you or DHL handles.
And something like that, it pains me to say this, you'd want to get your own DHL account. Because you're going to need a sales rep to walk you through. It's a really big process. If you're exporting things that are worth more than $2,500 through any shipper, you have to go through a lot of documentation to get things through customs. First, every country has different, I mean, Cuba is our ex-country. Nothing from Cuba can come in, and every country has a country like that. So, we know those ins and outs for the countries that are shipped to most often, but they would really need a DHL or UPS or FedEx expert to walk them through that sort of thing. But I could be a good go-to source for preliminary knowledge. But
Or maybe a sample.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
an engineered sample or something like that, go through you, and then when they get production levels, they can do their own.
Yes, samples actually are very easy to to ship. Because the customs agency sees it as a way to generate business in any given country, so they don't tax it heavily or at all in some countries.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How can we as a community help you to enhance your business, to grow your business?
If you were, for instance, jarring cream of crab soup, you would come to me to print the label. Just think of me, basically the major push for us this year is making sure people know that we print. We print everything. We do. And so if you're, if you just need black and white copies, if you have hard copies of something that you need a digital copy of, we scan all that stuff. We'll put it on your flash drive, we'll email it to you, and whoever you need it to. So we're pretty much more capable of doing a lot.